This is Ralph Brandt from the Fireside. I promised in one of my earlier videos that I would talk about the overturn of Roe v. Wade. The overturn of Roe v. Wade was very simple. The Supreme Court took a look at the premise on Roe v. Wade and said it was an invention of a constitutional right that does not exist in the Constitution. We must always be careful in the law to not only preserve every right that's there, but we must also not write into the law rights that do not exist. If we believe the right to privacy should exist, there is a process for amending the Constitution. We've done it a little over 24 times. The first 10 were the Bill of Rights. Freedom of the speech, press, religion, that group. Right to bear arms, no quartering, searches, self-incrimination. Number 6, I forgot. Number 7 is right to trial. These all have more to them than this, but 8, I'm trying to gather. I'm not getting there. 9 is that the citizens have rights, and 10 is the states have rights. That's a real 30,000-foot flyby. And those have stood the test of time. And for those of you who have a problem with 2A, I'm going to throw something at you. The country with probably the highest military skill percentage, that is, people who have good military backgrounds, highest percentage is not the United States. Believe it or not, it's the state of Israel. So many of their young people, and even into the 40s and 50s and 60s, have had military backgrounds. You have to realize these people have fought for their lives since 1948. I'll give you a perspective. A person born in 1948 right now is about 75 years old. I'm 80. I was born in 43, middle of World War II. These people have been fighting for their very lives. There have been 3 or 4 wars now that have attempted to wipe them out, including the one that started when the British left everything to the Arabs. If you want to read a phenomenal book, get a book called O Jerusalem. It's the founding era of the state of Israel. If you have no faith in God, you may have it when you're done. Because this nation hung on. The joke about a wing and a prayer, it wasn't even that. Israel has had that. I met a Sabra when I was in Illinois. She was one of the sweetest people around. And then I found out that she tried to immigrate here, and she had her Uzi in her suitcase when she got to New York, and they sort of wouldn't let her have it. It had to be sent back. She had a dispute with Burlington, and it started out as I need my money back for this piece of clothing because it doesn't fit. And by the way, the tag was wrong on it. And it wound up costing them, instead of something like $30, by the time it was over, and by the way, she never had a lawyer on it. By the time this case was over, it cost them a couple $100 in just money for her, plus their own lawyers, plus an awful lot of bad publicity. I wouldn't want to cross this gal. She's called a Sabra. That's an Israeli that was born in Israel. And it's named after a weed that grows there that's almost impossible to stamp out. And that's what they called their kids. The Israeli government changed the laws a few years ago so that what we have with 2A, where we're allowed to have arms, most Israelis were disarmed in their. I can assure you that the fight would have been drastically different on October the 7th if those Israeli homes had had weapons. The Arabs may not have killed half the number they did, and maybe even less than that. But it took time for the Israeli army, armed forces, to deploy. There's a joke that a friend of mine used to tell. Somebody asked him why he carries a pistol, a weapon. He said, because the cop's too heavy. There's another joke that whenever seconds count, the police are minutes away. And believe me, I'm a supporter of the police, and that is not a negative on them. I just know how long it takes from the time you make a phone call to 911 until they get here. During that time, you are the first responder. Think about that. I will not tell you whether you should or should not have a weapon in your home. That has to be your choice. But I will tell you this. I don't think the government should tell anyone they're not allowed to. Period. Maybe a few exceptions here and there, ones who show a history or a propensity to commit violence. Let them take a knife to a gunfight. But that's what happens when the laws are not carried out properly. Israel disarmed many of their citizens, and they paid for it. We need to preserve every right. We need to never allow a right to be extended, and we need to make sure that the deep state does not infringe on our rights. I saw a video the other night of a gal, and I don't really have a whole lot of interest in doing something like this, nor I'm not sure the value of it in a sense. But she was videoing outside a county government building, and the security guard, not an officer, security guard, come out, and he is giving her what for. See, the fortunate thing is she's videoing, so we can see what she is respectful. I don't particularly like some of the wording she used, and by the way, it wasn't nasty, it's just that she could have been a little more precise. But he got nasty, and he called the police. And the police finally told him she has every right to be here. She has a right to be here. And that's where we need to take our rights seriously. We need to not sell our birthright for a good stock market or a cause that means nothing. This election in the fall could be decided by some issues that are totally irrelevant. I see only a couple of issues that are relevant right now. It's the price of energy, food, housing, daycare, things that people need. You go beyond that, I don't care. Many are trying to put other things out there. Oh, the overturn of Roe v. Wade takes away women's rights to health care. No. It returned that right to regulate to the state, not to the federal government, not to a pre-described Supreme Court ruling that, in fact, was based on an error. This is Ralph Brandt from the Fireside.